What's up YouTube, Cryptic TCG coming at you with another deck profile. So recently I entered the Legacy of Destruction Celebration event and I took Blackwings and I came first. And then a couple of days later I decided to take this deck to locals because I was having a lot of fun with it, and I came second overall, only losing to Branded Chimera. The deck's a ton of fun. I think it's really well positioned in the current format, and if you have the cards to pick up and play this deck, I think you should, because it really is just a breath of fresh air, and I think it's just a solid deck overall. So let's get into the profile. First we play 3 Blackwing Simoon the Poison Wind. This is the best card in the deck. So it gets you access to Black Whirlwind from deck by revealing itself in hand and then banishing a Blackwing for cost. And then after that you can immediately normal summon this card or send it to the grave. One thing to keep in mind is this doesn't use your normal summon. It does Dark Lock you from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, but that's fine. The Dark attribute just has a lot of toolbox cards for itself, also the synchros for this deck. Also in the end phase it does send the Black Whirlwind that you place with this effect and then burns you for 1,000. So if you're close to time, you have to be really careful on how you manage your resources with this card. It's just something to keep in mind when you activate it. Next we play 3 Blackwing Sudori the Phantom Glimmer. This is one of the new wave of support that they had in Darkwing Blast. On summon, it searches a card that mentions Blackwing Dragon, and it has another effect where you contribute a monster you control, special summon a level 2 token. There's a tuner, but it locks you into synchros for the turn, not for the rest of the turn, so another thing to keep in mind. The effect to search on normal summon is not a hard once per turn, so if you normal summon this multiple times throughout your combo, which you tend to do, you get multiple searches off it, so it just gives you a lot of value overall. Then the next card we play is 3 Vata, the Emblem of the Wandering. This is the retrain of the classic Vata. This card, in my opinion, is honestly just custom. If you control a Blackwing, you special summon it, it doesn't activate. Then when it's on the field, you can send itself and Blackwing monsters from deck to equal the level 8 to special summon a Blackwing Dragon from extra deck. So it just lets you dump resources in the graveyard to just extend and push your boards. And it's just level 2 tuner that just summons itself to if you've already used your Blackwing Dragon. So it's just a solid card in general. Next of the support is 3 Shamal of the Sandstorm. This has 2 effects, so on field or in hand, send it to the grave, place Blackfeather Whirlwind face up from your deck, and if it's in graveyard and a Dark Synchro and a Blackwing Synchro or a Blackwing Dragon Synchro monster is special summoned, you can banish this card from the grave, get burned for 700, and then target a Blackwing monster in grave and add it to hand. So most of the time you go through this in your main combo anyway, and then you extend with it, but sometimes in later turns, if you just dumped another one in the grave, it just gives you recovery and extension just in case you play into like Nib or something. So yeah, overall it's fine. The burn effect doesn't really matter because you normally block the damage with Blackwing Dragon, but most of the time you do more burn damage anyway, so you kind of mitigate it in the overall thing. For the one-ofs, the Blackwings, we play with the 1 Harmattan, the 1 Shangra, the 1 Chinook, the 1 Orochi, and the 1 Zephyrus. You play these 5 because you normally just go through them in different stages of your combo. Zephyrus is just normally what you dump off of Vata, and it just gives you extension unless you play through boards a bit better. Orochi, this just gives you access to the Synchro 9 suite, so because Blackwing Dragon is a dragon monster, you can special summon this and just go into hot red for free. It has an effect to change one of your opponent's monster's battle position if it's used with synchro material, which does come up every now and then to push for damage. Chinook, this is Imperm on legs. It's not a quick effect unless you control a Blackwing synchro monster. So you can send this card from field or hand to the grave plus a Blackwing synchro monster from the deck, from the extra deck. Target a monster your opponent controls, negate its effects, and then reduce its attack by 700. So you can do some fancy damage step shenanigans with this if you want to. Just another bit to go on the end board, just to make your interruptions a bit more layered. Shangra was a card that overperformed for me. So if there's a monster on either player's field with 2000 or more attack, you can special summon it. if you control a Blackwing Synchro monster while this is in graveyard, once per duel you can banish it to just pop a face-up card in the field. Even after your opponent read this multiple times when I was playing, they just forget it's in the graveyard, and then they think that they managed to push through all your interruptions, and then they go to activate like a field spell or something, and then you just banish and pop it, and then you just cut them off of their plays. So it's just a really solid interruption to make your board a bit more layered. Harmattan, this is just mainly for Vata lines. You just dump it to the graveyard because it's a level 2. It does special summon itself if you control Blackwing, and then on summon it can target a Blackwing monster at its level onto its own. So if you want to do some fancy synchro plays, trying to get cheeky and get out of Full Armor Master using this and just something else, you can do. But most of the time it's just used for the Vata line, or if you're summoning it, it's just going to be Link Fodder. But you can do other plays with it, so it does come up. We do play a Bystial engine. We play 2 Lebellion, 1 Saronir, 1 Mag, 2 Druids, and 1 Baldric. I think for a slimmed down Bystial engine, this is the best ratios for everything. Even the multiple Druids, I would consider just playing 1 because it might be a bit too much in this deck. I'm not a fan of running multiple Lebellions. I find it quite cloggy. But overall, I think this is the correct ratio. The one that continues to overperform for me is Baldric. Most of my opponents think the Druids one's the hardest one to out, but Baldric threatens interaction in such a unique way where it just banishes an extra deck mon that they try to establish hit the board. In testing, this banished multiple of the Dark Charmer, trying to cut my opponent off extending any further because they just didn't know how this in hand, and it just performed amazing overall. But yeah, that's the Bystial engine. I don't think I'd change the ratios except maybe cutting 1 Druid to him, but overall it was fine. Then for the one of monsters that we play for Small World, we play the 1 Assault Synchron and the 1 Raiden. Assault Synchron, like I said, these are mainly here for Small World, but this is like an honorary Blackwing. Special summon that you can get access to your level 8 synchro plays or your level 10 toolbox if you use Lebellion or Blackwing Dragon to go into Dispada. The second effect for this rarely has ever come up in testing, but theoretically it could, because you have ways to tribute monsters in this deck, so it could come up. Raiden, again, just for Small World. Sometimes this catches opponents off guard when you just hard open it, especially against Pearly, where you can just pop their back row so they can't float for quick play spells, and you just slap this on the wall, and then they basically just lost from there. Then for the hand traps, we play the 3 Vela and the 3 Imperm. I think these were the best ones to run overall because non-engine's a bit tight in this deck if you don't count the Bystials as non-engine, because I count them as engine in this deck. But yeah, I think I wanted these 6 overall just because I think they're the best for the fire matchups, because you just want to stop Snake Eye Ash and Deval stuff from resolving, and I think this just gives you the best coverage overall in all the matchups. It sucks the Vela plays into Talons, but you just have to roll the dice and just hope, really. Just use your hand traps as efficiently as possible. Then moving on to the spells, we play the 3 Small Worlds. This deck does have a little bit of a consistency issue. You really want to see your Simoons, your Sudaris, or Vatas in the worst case, just to get your plays going. The only downside with this is that obviously Small World, you have to go negative to search, plus Simoon needs another body. So most of the time I've just been Small World in for Sudari, because overall I think it's better into hand traps, because if it gets Ash then I can still tribute to summon a token. But it also just gives you versatility for the other stuff. Sometimes I've comboed off and then at the end of the turn I'll just Small World to search like a Bystial, or if I want to crack a board I'll use this to grab Raiden, so it just gives you access to a bit of a toolbox. Then for the Whirlwinds, we play the 2 Feather Whirlwind and 2 Black Whirlwind. So Black Whirlwind, probably the most iconic card of the deck. Every time a Blackwing monster is normal summoned, you can add 1 from deck with attack less than. It's not once per turn and it stacks on copies. Black Feather Whirlwind, which is the retrain, it's a soft once per turn. When a Dark Synchro monster is special summoned, you can target a Blackwing monster in grave or banish, summon it back to the field. It has a protection effect where you can remove a Black Feather counter on the field, and protect dark monsters from being destroyed by battle or card effect once per turn, which is a relevant effect to come up, so it's just something to keep in mind. Then we play 2 Prosp. You're only really ever banishing 3 in this deck. I've been forced to banish 6, and it leaves me in such a tight position for grinding later on in the game, even if I do get my combo going. I'm not a fan of Prosp in general, even though I understand why I need to play it, but I'd rather honestly just run more copies of Small World if I could, but it's there for the consistency, and overall it did its job. It was fine. Then for the 1-off spells, play the 1 Regains, the 1 Talents, and the Call By. Call By is broken if you open it, just lets you play from hand traps. Granted, not many people are on draw, so and that's the hand trap that affects this deck the most. So, but it stops like failures and stuff, which do tend to come up every now and then. Talents is just kind of a last second add-in. Also, I play Thrust in the side, so having this in rotation was just something I wanted to have somewhere. And in the main deck it just fit best. I didn't see it, but in theory it's good. Regains, this card underperformed. I was tempted to cut it, but when you get into simplified game states, just grinding with Bystials just generate advantage of Magnum or cycling back Druid's Worm and then tributing off Lebellion just nets you so much advantage, so I can understand wanting to play this. I think I'll just have to do a bit more testing, but currently I think this is underperformed. But I'm open to changing my mind. And then the last card is 1 Blackwing Twin Shadow. This card just lets you perform a synchro summon on your opponent's turn by shuffling in materials from grave or banished. Shuffles for cost, so it can't be belled, which is a nice thing. Just allows you to have interruption on your opponent's turn, or if you want to set up like a full armor master, just something that they can't out, it's just another thing you can do. So that's the main deck. It's 45 cards. It's pretty chunky overall, but I think it's a really solid build. There's not much I would change, but I will test some ratios further, and then we'll see what would need to be improved. Now onto the extra deck. So for the extra deck, for the synchros, we play the 2 Tax Dragon. Rarely did I ever end on 2 of these. Normally my end boards consist of 1. I don't like tunneling onto like 3 of this, because I know some people just max out on this and that's the entire end board, which is strong and can just clear, well, just win games straight up, but I just don't think it's necessary. The board wipe effect did come up once where it forced my opponents to try and out this as soon as possible, just because when you have full armor master up, it doesn't care if you blow up the board, so you'll always just have more resources than your opponent. But yeah, I think 2 is fine. Then we play 2 full armor master. This card's crazy. It's towers. Every time your opponent activates a monster effect, place a wedge counter on it. During your end phase, you can nuke the board for everything that has a wedge counter. And then as an ignition effect, you can take control of an opponent's monster that has a wedge counter. So yeah, just an overall really solid card. Really annoying for some decks to deal with. Some decks just can't out it, and you just punish those decks that can't. And the amount of times that you summon multiple of this, just crazy. Unless you play around Nib a lot. Then for the other Synchro 10s, you play the 1 Dispada, because Blackwing Dragon is a dragon, and because we play a Bystial engine, so this is just free basically. Extension is nice on it. It's not the best card in the deck, but I think it performs solidly. I wouldn't cut it. The 1 Chaos Angel, you're only ever going to get the Dark Protection effect with this, but overall this card just performed phenomenally. My opponents just never realized when they think they had me in like a simplified game state where I just had like a Sudri that they negated and a Bystial, and then I just make this, banish something, and then just attack to clear the board, and then they just realized that I had more extension to offer. So yeah, Chaos Angel, solid card. Then the Synchro 9s, play the 1 Hot Red. I really like this card. I know a lot of builds don't play it, but I think it's just such a unique form of interaction that punishes some decks, and it just lets you play around a lot more things like talents or evenly matched stuff like that. Also, I've used this to play around Dark Ruler, where you chain Twin Shadow because you can't respond to monster effects, and then you use this to respond to the Dark Ruler. So you get to keep all your interaction on board, and then they've just wasted a card for nothing. So yeah, I think Hot Red's a really solid card. Then for the Synchro 8s, obviously we have to play the one Blackwing Dragon. I know some decks play multiple of this, I can understand why, but if you manage your resources correctly, you can just keep cycling this, so just one is fine. Then play the one Silver One, the Ascendant. You summon this off of Twin Shadow, so you don't need to use 2 or more non-tuners for this, and it treats it as a synchro summon. On summon, it pops 2 monsters your opponent controls that have defense less than its attack. You can't conduct your battle phase, but you only ever make this on your opponent's turn. So it's just another form of interaction that you have through the trap, even if your board does get negated. Other 8s, we play the one Draco Berserker. Never summoned this. In theory, it's good. Lets you attack over stuff. Also, the banish it effect does come up every now and then in testing, but overall, I think it's fine, but I just never got to summon it. Then for the 6s, we play the one Nathang and the one Boral Storm. Nathang, you go through in your combo, on summon, burns your opponent for 8, gives you additional normal summon. Boral Storm, on summon, Foolish is a Blackwing from deck, and it becomes that level. Also, it's Goyo Guardian, retrained, so attack over something, you just get to take it in defense. It's tuner as well, you use this to make Assault Dragon. Overall, solid card. Then for the links, we just play the one SP and the one IP. Standard enough. You get Dark Locked, both the Darks, good interaction. Didn't miss any other links really. I think those two are solid. And then the last card is the Evil Swarm Nightmare. Some decks just really have a tough time with this card, some decks don't. You really have to know matchups a lot to see if it's worth committing the resources to this, because sometimes if you have the 2 4s left in the end board, it's between this and Draco Berserker. Most of the time blindly I make this because I think this has a, I think if you high roll on this, you're a lot more rewarded than Draco Berserker, so I think it's worth sinking the resources into this overall. But yeah, so that's the extra deck. Onto the side. So when I entered the Legacy of Destruction event, I had a 12 card side because I debated on stuff the night before and I just forgot to add them into the deck. So what would have been in that list would be the 3 Ash. I just wanted something extra for Branded and for the gimmick lock and stuff like that. And having another hand trap I could just put in the covers, a wide variety of matchups I think were solid. Then for the Thrust engine, we played obviously the 2 Thrust, the 2 Evenly, the 2 Dark Ruler, the 1 Duster, the 1 Lightning Storm, the 1 Herald, the 1 Soul Release, the 1 Change of Heart, and the 1 D-Barrier. So the side deck's basically just all thrust targets. I think this covers the widest variety of matches. Evenly match was crazy, performed really well. I saw it more than actually saw Thrust, but yeah, it performed a lot. Soul Release I don't think is necessary. I think this is a bit win more and you don't need it. I think I'd rather search like a Talons instead of this. Same with the Change of Heart. I think this was also a win more, so I'd probably change these 2 things for something else. The Herald of the Abyss, I went against Pearly, it did come up. I think this is just a solid card in general to just have with the Thrust engine. It only takes up 1 slot, and I'd rather have this against Pearly than not have it. Back row removal for like lab and stuff like that. Floodgates, just need a D-Barrier, the floodgate of the format. Stops temp by stuff. Even though you turn off your own synchros, it's just worth it just to stop your opponents. They suffer more than you do. Plus you have link plays, so you can still do some stuff. But yeah, overall, I think the deck performed really well. Like I said, I need to test it a bit more to refine it a bit, but I think it's a really fun deck. A really nice pick this format if you want to just chill and play something that's just not fire, and has decent matchups against most of the meta decks. But yeah, so that's the profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, let me know how I can improve myself, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.